Now, this one's interesting. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has said she has evidence that former President Barack Obama used his last days in office to lay the groundwork for the Russia collusion conspiracy that would ultimately plague Trump's first term. She's using words like treason. Here she is.
President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency.
Where do you see this going?
Well, James, look, this is personal for me and for a lot of people that worked for President Trump. We were investigated or called as witnesses during the Mueller probe. And for people who don't get this, this was literally thousands upon thousands of dollars in legal fees. Many of my former colleagues got bankrupted or had their lives turned upside down. And so if we have evidence that shows that this all really was not just a hoax, but intentionally perpetrated, these people need to be held accountable. And I'm glad that Tulsi Gabbard is making a referral to the Department of Justice.
What chance that any criminal charges would ever be laid?
You know, it's an interesting question. I hope good amount. I mean, I hope that she had all of her ducks in a row when she came out and made this charge.
All right. Well, just when you thought the Democrats couldn't possibly nominate a worse candidate for mayor than Zoran Mamdani in New York, they've nominated Omar Fateh in Minneapolis. He's a Somali-American Muslim who's ultra-left-wing, and he's upset a lot of people with speeches like this one where he calls Somalia his home.
I understand that our Somali communities are all connected to each other here in Minnesota and back home, and I ask for your support. There's always been a link between our community here as well as back home, and I'm running to bridge that gap.
Right, Sean, what can you tell us about this guy, Omar Fateh?
Look, James, this is the same area where Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is from. They sort of have a history of electing people that like to criticize America. At some point, I feel like the voters are getting what they deserve. So they've seen this movie before with her. She's represented them in this area in Congress before. I thought a lot of Americans would have got the warning with the leftist policies that Mamdani was expressing in New York. But clearly, this is what concerns me is a pattern. Is this just another one-off candidate, or are we seeing the Democrats continue to elect people that are frankly associating themselves with far-left socialist policies?
Well, just finally, Pete Buttigieg is one of the key Democrats who will likely run for president in 2028. But his bid won't be helped by revelations he spent more than half the Transport Department's budget on DEI programs when he oversaw that for the Biden administration. Apparently spent more than $80 billion in 4 years, not on things like upgrading air traffic control systems or better rail infrastructure, but on increasing diversity within the Transport Department.
Here's the worst part, James. It's the why. Why he spent $80 million on DEI policies. It's because when he ran for president the first time, he had tremendous issues with the black population in the Democratic Party. And so I think he wanted to use these federal grants to really ingratiate himself with especially metropolitan areas where there might be a primary, an early state. What's scary is a recent poll showed Buttigieg at 0% among black Americans. Now, here's the funny thing about that. Most polls have a plus or minus 3 or 4. So he actually could be in the hole with black Americans. It's that bad. But what shows me is not just how he wasted the money that could have been spent on critical infrastructure in America, but in fact that he tried to do something with it and got a 0 result out of it, which really speaks to his capabilities.
Well, I don't think he's Robinson Crusoe in that regard. I reckon he's got a few friends in the United States, particularly amongst the Democrats. Sean Spicer, it's always a joy to speak to you. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks, James. You bet.